Hey, hello, Matrix Live demo day. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The sun is shining in London today, and it has been shining brightly for literally billions of years. And if that fact does not fill you with awe and wonder, then maybe some of our demos will. We've got Valere who's going to talk to us about spaces. Neil Alexander has a last-minute special edition. I don't even know what he's talking about. It's going to be a surprise to everybody. Christian's going to talk about the Matrix Navigator. And Eric is going to talk about backfilling historical messages. Someone's missing from my list. They vanished just as I've been talking. Oh well, I'll let that lie. Right, Valere, are you out there?
Yep. Hello, I'm here twice. Let me share my screen. So, hello. So I'm gonna quickly show. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay. So I'm just going to show the recent changes on the spaces. So I guess that a lot of you now have a lot of spaces. And one of the most requested thing was how to reorder them, something. So I can put the most important one in top. So as you can see, currently the order is consistent. So that's how it was. But now you can pick one, and I will pick this one, and I can put it on top. And you see, so it's synchronized across clients. I can do it also from here and put it here. So so this is on live on Android. It's on develop for web. It will be released, I believe, next week. So please try it. There are some new options. Let me quickly show you in the lab settings. So if I go to lab here, you have some new checkbox here. Switch. Please use them. This one has been highly requested. As you can see, currently, home is showing everyone. It can be confusing because I have free general, free random. So now just go in settings, labs. You can toggle that one. Try it. Use it in your day-to-day workflow and send us feedback. Please, feedback. We are getting a lot of feedback. It's very useful. As you can see, for example, on Android, just tap here and send us feedback. Thank you for everyone participating. Just a few last words. If you are using community, in order to implement the drag and drop, we had to change a bit how it's implemented. So for communities, you won't be able to drag and drop anymore. You have to right click and move up, move down. And that's it for the quick changes on spaces. Thank you, everyone.
That's awesome.
Looks good.
Neil, you're muted.
Neil Alexander, you're up.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Awesome. Right, let me just share my screen. Okay. What you are looking at the moment is a desktop showing Chrome on the left-hand side, showing an Android device on the right-hand side. If you've seen the P2P demos before today, this will be pretty familiar. So I can, on the right-hand side, say hello. On the left-hand side, it appears. The secret here is that on the left-hand side, this is Dendrite and Pinecone running in the web browser, which is something that we haven't done before. We've seen the demos running on iOS. We've seen them running on Android. You can even run them as standalone nodes and just connect to them through a web browser. But this is the first time we've actually had it working properly in a web browser. So with any luck, if I go into the developer tools, we'll be able to see some of the logging messages from Dendrite if we start sending messages.
You may need to zoom in a little bit. Come on, plus for the win. There we go. Thank you.
Yes, so here we can see it's intercepting the client API request, sending the event. It's going straight out over Federation. And this is connecting to the Pinecone public node over WebSockets. So it's all running in the web browser, tested with Chrome and Firefox, still with quite an old Riot version because this is just basically a fast forward of the old p2p.riot.in demo, but it's a step in the right direction.
I think you need to scroll down on the left-hand side.
What was that, sorry?
Scroll down. There we go. Woo! Amazing.
Wow, great.
It's the future. Peer-to-peer on web, everybody. Woohoo!
Looks great.
Super cool. Thank you. Christian, are you ready?
I am ready, yes. We had to make a couple of changes to how Matrix is bridging to one network, Freenode in particular. So a lot of people wanted to unbridge from Freenode, IRC network, very popular, the largest one that we bridge to, and migrate to a different IRC network or just to Matrix directly. Because most of these rooms were created with our bridge. Nobody was an admin in those rooms, and you can only tear down a bridge and bridge to a new network if you're an administrator in a room. So we had lots of support requests that basically were asking for us to change permissions inside a room. And to do this at a mass scale, we kind of needed something different than just curl. So I wrote this, for now, very small program, just a web app that is called Matrix Navigator for mutating rooms and permissions. I set this up with a test account now that I'm not using the official accounts. But for example, what it lets me do is I can ask for the room ID behind Matrix HQ. I can also, if I have a support request for example, navigator.demo, then I can go into that room, peek at the power levels. There it tells me, oh, you're not part of this room. So I can join myself and try this again. And there I see this user requested to become an administrator. And in this case, Sylvie Test is presumably the bridge account. So I can remove this account from the list of permissions and make this user an admin. And then overwrite the state. And leave the room as if nothing has happened. So that way we were updating a ton of permissions, of course, in a way more automated way than this, but this will be how bridging operations will be handled forwards if there are no mass migrations needed. And in fact, this code that's under the hood here was used for the mass migration that we launched last Thursday. That's it from my demo.
Super cool. Thank you for automating it, Christian.
Will that code have a permanent home, like the web app?
Yes, I'm hosting it currently on my own domain, matrix-navigator.chrpal.de. If I'm not too late, I'll get it into the This Week in Matrix again.
Cool, brilliant, thank you. All right, last but certainly not least, Eric, tell us all about backfilling historical messages.
Yeah, so today we're talking about MSC 2716 for backfilling all historical messages, and the big difference is in the historical existing rooms. So you can see I have a matrix room here that doesn't have all these nice Fox messages from the past. And this is specifically good for Gitter because we created the Gitter matrix bridge, and the huge, massive archive of messages isn't over on Matrix yet. So what we want to do is we can use MSC 2716, which adds a batch send endpoint, and import all those messages over to Matrix and have them available for everyone to see. So existing room, reload, and now all our messages are back in time with the same timestamps, and everything is good to go over there. In the next iteration of this, we'll federate them so new servers can see them. Like your local home server adds some historical messages, and then the federation can be like, oh, it knows when you go back and scroll back that it needs to go fetch those historical messages only when it needs them. I've been testing and developing this MSC with complement. So complement's like a way to test against a home server, and it's really useful, especially for this MSC, because I need to have like a clean DAG for the topological state, and then run some steps over and over against it to see if it works. And also playing around with TARDIS to visualize the DAG, so you can see like, oh, does my test result end up how I expect it to look, and just easier to reckon about things than looking at prev events and just text on the screen. So that's my demo.
Yeah, because we've been waiting for the ability to get historical content in on bridges for basically ever, I think, 5 years or whatever it's been. And having access to all of the amazing history in Gitter is fantastic. And I know that the beta are also frantically looking forward to their own bridging antics. So thank you, Eric. Super, super cool to be properly bringing Gitter into Matrix. Is that it?
That is it. Matrix Live viewers will probably also get 1 or 2 other demos from early in the month.
Even better. Bye, everybody.
All right, well, Rich asked first, so in that case, why don't you lead us off then, Rich?
Cool. Okay, I will do that. I will share my screen as.
Are we recording? Yes.
Step. Okay. There we go. I'm going to share my screen. That one. I hope. Share. There we go. I'm going to talk a bit about OpenTracing and Jaeger today. Can you all see that okay, roughly?
Yep.
Cool. So a bit of background to start with. OpenTracing is basically an API standard. The idea is that you can use the OpenTracing API to annotate your application, add bits of annotations to it to record how it is working, and then you link your application with a library, and that talks to a backend which records the data that your application is recording and emitting. So without too much further ado, I'm going to show you how we use it. I'm going to show you, this is our internal Jaeger instance that we have hooked up to the matrix.org home server. It's not difficult to set up your own Jaeger instance if you're running your own home server instance. But okay, at the top here, we've got, I'm going to move the thingy out the way, it's annoying. There we go. So at the top under service, we've got all the processes that are talking to this Jaeger instance. So in the case of Synapse, it's all the different workers. I happen to know that for the thing I want event creator users to. You give it a time frame to look under, and you can stick a limit on there and click find traces. It whirls away and thinks for a bit. Talk amongst yourselves while it thinks. There we go. So what we can see here is a bunch of different operations that this process has run recently. We've actually set the matrix.org home server up so that it records about 1% of its operations. So that's sort of useful if you're getting regular scenarios. All you need really is a small percentage of things to look at. But we've also set it up so that any operations done by a certain subset of test users are recorded, and that's kind of useful. What we can see here is this tells me it's mostly been processing replication data. If we scroll down a bit, keep going. No, it's all replication data. You can also filter down in the operations list for specific things. But something else you can do with the OpenTracing API is add metadata to each span. And one of the things that we add is the user that performed an operation. So I'm going to search for stuff done. That's not the right thing. Stuff done by my test user recently. Find traces. So that's going to look for operations done by this user. Okay, it's found one thing that I've done in the last hour. And so now I can click into this operation and open it up. And so now we can see all the stuff that happened as part of that operation. And this is really super useful stuff for when you're trying to debug why a thing is slow. We can see there's lots of database operations going on here. I can really click into these things and see exactly what operation it ran, what query it ran. So it does a whole bunch of stuff. And something else that's really interesting here is this hit the event creator, which is where event creation requests come in, and then we hand it off to the event persister once we create the event. So this bit where it changes color, that's running on a different process, and we're actually showing the link between those parts. So how am I doing for time? I can keep going for a bit.
Normally we have a very strict 5-minute window, but since there's only 2 of you, you can definitely have some more time.
Cool, thanks, Neil. Okay, what we see down here at the bottom is it gets a bit mysterious, because what happens is we persist a whole bunch of events in a big batch. And so there won't be just my event being persisted here, there'll be others at the same time. And so there's not much detail here, because what we do here, this little icon here means that it's linked through to another set of spans. I can open that up and look at a different trace, and that should link through to it starts closed for some reason, but this is the whole persist event batch, and this actually links back to all the other traces, all the other operations that are being persisted as part of this batch. And so again, we can dig into that span, that operation. And something else we can do is we can add logs to the spans as they go through, which I'm sure that means something, but I don't quite know what it is. But it's, again, a way that we can annotate the code so that when we're wondering what's going on, how things are working, there's some extra data we can pull out there. And that's about it, really. And it's just a useful debugging tool for finding out why things are going slowly. Any questions or anything?
I really need to have a look at use the same format in hydrogen, because the logs are so similar in function. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very similar to what you showed us, I think, recently in hydrogen.
And basically, do you add hooks explicitly in the code, or it's mainly instrumentation based or something like that?
Yeah, we've instrumented lots of bits of the code. So we've done things like instrument where the request arrives in Synapse, and we've instrumented the database code. And actually, that's enough for it all to just trace through and us get quite a good impression of what's going. Excuse me, what's going on.
Okay, thanks.
But it's sort of one of those things, like when you have a problem, you start instrumenting that bit of the code until you've got enough detail coming out.
What are the limitations? I mean, this looks magical. Like, this looks just so powerful, and I love the idea that you can sample as a percentage of the overall, but you can also record either everything or a subset of individual test users' experiences. Like, what doesn't this do for you that you wish it would, or that you could with sufficient sort of further work?
I mean, the obvious problem is that you can't annotate everything. So often what happens is that someone says, hey, this thing didn't work, but unless we've recorded the data for it, then that's not much use to us. And so ideally, we'd sort of be recording everything, but that would be a massive fire hose of data, and we just it would slow down the application, but also the Jaeger recorder just wouldn't be able to record that much information. So that's why we can only really record a subset of the data. We did the sampling plus some test users. So that's kind of the biggest limitation. The other limitation is that it's just, it's the way of the world, that you won't have enough annotations on the bit of code where you're having a problem the first time you come to it. So then you have to go and add a bit more annotation to that bit of the code so that next time it happens, you have more information on what's going on.
Yeah.
In the Jaeger in the code, you also have to pass the Jaeger span through the stack, no? So that might also be, or is that not the case?
I mean, yes, you do, but in Python we can do that with just thread local data, so it all happens automatically without thinking about it too much.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm. It is very nice, yeah. Anyway, well, there it is. That's a useful tool for when you're wondering why things are slow.
Rich, can you do this across various server instances? Like if you wanted to use this for federation debugging?
Yeah, you can. So one of the nice things about OpenTracing is it specifies standards for headers that you put in requests, so you can actually link things together. I mean, that's how our stuff is working between workers, but you can also do it between instances. The constraint is that you need to have the data from those different instances going into the same Jaeger collector. So it might be a thing that we could do with our fleet of EMS servers that we're managing if we collected all that data together, but it's not that useful for sort of debugging matrix.org against a different home server.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
Yeah. One more thing, would it be easy to expose a span ID for a request so clients can log it as well, and then it's easy to hook up the client and server log?
I guess it would, yeah. Yeah.
That'd be really useful.
It's an interesting idea, yeah. Yeah, it's a really good idea. Thanks. Thanks, Bruno.
I've created a Synapse issue for that, but I should remind people.
Okay. Yeah, that would be cool. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rich. That is super cool. I know we've had this capability for a long while, and it's only recently we've sort of had the headroom to actually to run it. But I think this is just night and day in terms of our ability to investigate issues. I mean, I take the point that the first time it happens, you might not have the instrumentation, but anything that's going to be sort of widespread is going to give itself up eventually just through the number of instances we'll have of it.
Cool.
Or occurrences, I should say. All right. Next up is Bruno.
Hello. I'm going to demo reactions in hydrogen, which is almost ready to release. So let me share my screen. There we go. You should be able to see yourselves now, or Neil at least. Right, there we go. So I hope you can all see my screen.
Yep.
Cool. So here we have hydrogen running locally on the reactions branch. And as I said, it's almost ready to release. I just want to write some unit tests, but yeah, it's all functional. So if you go to any room, you can see that reactions now appear. And this is Robin, who made a new forwarding UI. So let's thumb that up. You can see the sorting order change, and yeah, turning green because you reacted. So you can see there's a room here. Let's accept that, and let's maybe go offline, because one of the things I spent a lot of work on is a local echo to make it work really well. So if we type a message, you can see we're offline. And now we can react here. And you can see, as long as the reaction is not sent, it glows with an animation. You can add multiple. And you can undo them as well. Oh, still got a breakpoint there. Right.
It's a proper demo, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah. So if I turn throttling off, if I go back online, you see everything gets sent. So if I just turn the network to slow, you should be able to see, yeah, basically that it also, like, yeah, if it's still sending and you undo it, it has to redact it. So the local echo turns it to null, and it disappears once everything is sent. So you always have an idea of where the reaction state is at. Yeah, so the UI for it is still pretty basic. You just have the quick reactions. I also put in a prompt where you can just say anything, and that'll work. But that will probably disappear in the future, or at least not in a ugly prompt. But yeah, in the future release, I hope to add a proper emoji picker. And I think that's mainly it. Yeah, any questions?
I love the loading animation.
The styling is all taken from Element, but yeah, I added a little CSS animation to it.
And the idea is sort of consistently throughout Hydrogen is that it has very strong experience for offline mode.
Yeah,
you're applying to every single feature that you are putting out.
Yeah, it's something I personally feel strong about. That it really adds to the feeling of reliability of the client. If like people run their own home servers, which may not always be online, or connections can be spotty anywhere. So for me, it feels like a lot more reliable if that just always works independent of your connection.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's true though, isn't it? As well with something like thinking of sort of other worlds analogy, that an email client that you couldn't work with offline. Like there's so much value in that. You can just carry on working if you're on a plane or whatever.
Yep, that's the idea.
All right. Any last minute unexpected demos? All right. In that case, lovely to see you all. Sorry I was a bit late. Oh, just to welcome and put him on the spot, Tadzik, our new joiner. Welcome to Bruno's session, Tadzik.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi there.
Sorry to pounce on you. I just saw your avatar and thought, that would be a nice opportunity to say hi. We'll say hi properly, I guess, on the Monday Morning Sync. We'll intro you to the.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. Right.
And for folks that don't know, Tadzik's going to be focusing a lot on bridging and maybe a little bit of Rust on the side as well, but initially bridging is the plan.
That's awesome.
Right then, everyone. Until next time. Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.